Welcome into Musketeer Made, presented by Fremont Tire. I am Connor Ryan, and he is
Travis Morgan.
Hi, Travis. People
Hi.
can't see us waving, except for on the YouTube channel, I guess.
It's going to be It's going to be a confusing day. A lot of Travises involved in this session.
There are a lot of Travises. Our guest is Travis Turnbull today. We have Travis Morgan, who's always hosting it. I guess you're just teamwork today.
Yeah,
or Trav. But anyways, did want to quick mention since this is dropping on Monday. Friday coming up, Musketeers home opener against the Waterloo Blackhawks, a 7:05 puck drop. But we got big stuff planned ahead of it. The biggest party in town on Friday night. It is party on the plaza here in front of the Tyson Event Center. Before we take on Waterloo, kind of like what we had last year, we'll have a live band. Ultraviolet Fever is coming out. We got food trucks. We have Slapshot Alley. Bunch of prizes that we're giving away as well.
Bouncy houses for the kids. Don't forget about that. Bouncy houses for the kids. That's the key thing right there.
That's the big. See, I don't have kids, so like to me, I was like,
I know, and that's why I stepped in. That's why I stepped in for you.
That's why you're here. And now, of course, we also have the Musketeer Walk. So this is your chance as a fan base as the Musketeers enter the Tyson Event Center for the first time this year for a game, you get to high five them, wish them luck here this season. As you know, kind of like what college football teams do. You know, players walk through the line. They do it at Nebraska, and they do it everywhere. So, you know, that's what we have going on, kind of a college football atmosphere. So that's coming up. Tickets are on sale. Come on down to the Tyson Event Center box office. Give us a call or visit us here at the Musketeers office to get your tickets for opening night. Hockey is back in Sioux City. Kind of probably feels always weird to say, but it always comes around, and here we are. So year number 52 will be off and running on Friday. So just wanted to mention that at the top of Musketeer Made, presented by Fremont Tire. Now we get into the reason you actually tuned into this podcast, and that is to introduce former Sioux City Musketeer Travis Turnbull. Travis, how is it going?
Gentlemen, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Things are doing great just down here in southern Alabama.
That's got to be a desert of hockey, right? I mean, how much hockey is there in southern Alabama?
Right.
I was looking it up. One of the first things I did when I decided to move the family here for this job was look up where the closest rink was, and I found it. It's in Pensacola, Florida, which is about 40 minutes from my house. So it's not too bad.
So would you consider your area a hockey hotbed, or?
It's pretty non-existent here in this area where I am, to be honest with you. It's football is life, football, baseball, softball. My daughter is playing 8U softball here, and it's pretty serious. And I'm really proud of her for never really swinging a bat or doing anything other than playing catch with me, kind of jumping into it. She's doing really well. It's a lot of fun. But
does she skate?
She skates. Both of my daughters skate. They were skating a bunch over in Germany. They had really good youth programs for the kids over there. So yeah, they got their hockey gear as well, and they got their rollerblades here down in Alabama. We're not staying off the skates. I'll tell you that.
To be fair, our equipment manager, Damon Wheeler, he's from Huntsville, Alabama, I think.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So, it's only a matter of time before hockey, gets all the way down here. It's bigger in Huntsville. It's blown up in Florida, with Tampa Bay winning so many championships. And, the Panthers going to the Stanley Cup Finals. It just makes more kids excited about it and educates more people in the game and gets more people watching, so it's a good thing.
But that has to make you a pretty popular guy around town, right? When they have hockey questions, like go ask Travis, go ask the hockey guy.
He's the resident hockey guy.
Yeah. I don't even know if too many people even really know. But one of the dads on my daughter's softball team said the other day, he's like, there's other ex-NFL players around. Ex-MLB, I think you're the only ex-NHLer, and that's pretty cool. Thanks, man. Yeah. But yeah, it's a different pace of life down here. definitely, didn't think we'd end up down here in Alabama, but it was a great opportunity, and we can get into it later why we moved down here, but we're really enjoying it so far.
So to give some background on our guest, Travis Turnbull, here on Fremont Tire's Musketeer Made. He started with the Sioux City Musketeers in junior hockey in 03-04 season. Went on to play 2 seasons for us here in Sioux City. Played at Michigan for 4, and then turned pro and was in the NHL. Then went over to Germany. He's been all over the place. And the funny story about Trav is the connection that we have is my first year here in Sioux City doing sports at K-Meg was covering his team. That was his first year here in Sioux City. So in 03-04. So it's been a ride where you've been all over the place, but let's start here in Sioux City, Trav. And you were a part of a pretty good run here in Sioux City. The guys that had a chance made some good runs in the playoffs and everything else. It was a fun time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I have so many fond memories of my time in Sioux City, and truly grateful for that time. We had a great team. The team won the championship the year before I got there. And then, that next, my first year there, we had a really good team, some really good young players, Tim Kennedy, Justin Boostrom, and Chris Butler, and, some guys that, really went far. We lost in the playoffs that year. And then
Lincoln, I believe.
I think it was, maybe it was Lincoln.
I think it was Lincoln because they had Ryan Hull and Jared Bull.
Well, we beat them in the playoffs the next year when we went to the championship. We had a couple pretty good line brawls, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Dennis McCauley and everybody else.
Oh yeah, my boy Dennis, tough guy. Man, he was tough in the American League too. He fought everybody. He was always willing, and I just have so much respect for Dennis as a player. But yeah, we had great teams. Dave Siciliano was a great coach, and Marty Quarters, the man who brought me to Sioux City, was great, and it was an integral part of my career and an essential stepping stone, if you will.
It's interesting because you mentioned playing with some good players. Stephen Camphor, who played in the Olympic team here and also played in the NHL, was also on that team. What do you remember about Stephen as a player here in Sioux City?
Well, Stephen and I also played together at the University of Michigan as well.
Yep.
So I played with Stephen for a lot of years. It's incredible the career he's had. I'm not surprised in the least bit. He's got a great talent and a good, mind for the game, and works really hard, and he's a good guy. A lot of people don't realize too, how big of having a long career and going really far, how big it is to be a great person and teammate. It's really important to be a great teammate and a good guy, and Stephen is that for sure.
One of my fun Stephen Camphor stories is, and we'll see if you remember this, but it was in that Lincoln series. You're playing Lincoln, and Camphor had probably been in maybe one fight that entire season, and they had Hull and Bull, and both of them had over 300 minutes in penalties that year. They both got them all the time. And I remember things started getting chippy, and Stephen Camphor dropped his gloves against Ryan Hull. And when the Hull dropped, he actually looked at Camphor like, are you serious? Do you really want to do this? And Camphor's like, yeah, I want to do this. And I mean, bless Stephen's heart. I mean, he was willing, and that was great. But you just knew, like, the kid bit off more than he can chew. But I don't know if you remember that fight or remember that exchange or not. But it was one of those deals where you're like, wow, okay, good for you, I guess. I couldn't believe he was doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember that fight in particular, but I think that's a testament to Stephen's character. That he'd do anything for his teammates, and I do remember Ryan Hull very well, and Jared Bull. I believe I fought both of them multiple times. It was always a battle against Lincoln. They had a great squad there too. I was actually telling my daughters the other day. So I put on, my girls always want to get pumped up before their sports, and I threw on like Jock Jams the other day, and Thunderstruck was on, and I was like, girls, you wouldn't believe it. Lincoln has, this song going on with everybody chanting Thunder and, the smoke show and stuff. I said I used to get chills, in the starting lineup, before those games there. So those were always fun. I remember the tough playoff series we had against them the year before, we advanced into the finals, and it's great. So many memories. It's bringing back so many memories. It's so awesome to be on here to talk about Sioux City, because even though it's been, I guess 19 years since I've been there.
Yeah.
It still seems kind of like yesterday, to be honest.
I want to ask you about, because I feel like it's actually interesting. It pertains to, both last year's team, but also the team we have, this year, coming off a Clark Cup championship. Talk about the culture and the DNA that was kind of passed on to you, the following year, and also the pressure and expectations there were to, follow in the footsteps of that team.
Yeah, I mean, so it was actually, Sioux City was the place that I chose to go because they won. I was lucky enough to have some various tender offers, and I wanted to win because of that culture. I wanted to go there for the opportunity to win because of that culture. I remember coming to Sioux City and watching that team play that year, and sitting in the stands at the old Odd there.
Yeah.
And, they had really, that obviously they had to make up for what it took, and then coming in as a young guy, with an older school coach, just. There was a lot of respect for the older players and the guys that had been there and won the championship, and there should be. And I wish there was more of that in today's game. But there was definitely that swag, if you want to call it that we went into every game expecting to win. And I think that's really important. And it was important for my mindset going forward as a leader later on in my career.
You played under Dave Siciliano. You talked about that old school coaching. Give me a great Dave Siciliano story from back in the day.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, it's hard to. I mean, there's one that's pretty funny that I can think of off the top of my head.
This is a podcast, so you can cut it loose. It's fine.
Yeah, no. I mean, I have all the respect in the world for Dave and his wife. They're great people, and he was a really good coach in my opinion. But I remember him coming in all pissed off because of that after a period in Omaha. He came in, of course, sometimes games aren't going your way, and he came in and kicked the bottom of the trash can and hurt his foot and was kind of hobbling around, and I was having a hard time. I remember having my jersey over my head, like that, because I didn't want to laugh, because he was right to be upset. We didn't have the start that he wanted and that he expected of us, and it's just a funny story that I'll never forget. And I remember looking over on the bench, and he had a big bag of ice on his foot, and it was just it was only funny because we came back in the game and won.
Nice.
If we would have lost, it wouldn't have been funny. But I mean, gosh, there's a lot to say about Dave. He expected a lot out of his players, and I think that's really important. To push you to. He pushed us in the right ways, and looking back now, I respect him even more than I did at the time for the things that he did. Even bringing along, guys like, myself and Tim Kennedy, making us kind of earn our way that first year. In my head, I thought I should have had more playing time, but looking back, I think he did it the right way. And, I'm grateful for him as well.
Talk about how the game has changed so much from the time that you were here to what it is now. When you were here, fighting was still very prevalent. I know that you were one of those guys that was not afraid to drop the gloves, and we had guys littered throughout the roster that were willing and would go looking for it as well. You don't really see that now as much. Can you talk about that? Just the difference in the way I guess the game is played, and do you think there's a need for fighting in hockey? Is there a purpose for it?
Yeah, so I'll start with saying yes, I believe that there's a purpose for it. You know, fighting kind of polices the game, you know, where we have the ability to, you know, if somebody's taking cheap shots or doing things that, you know, they shouldn't be doing, they know that there's a good chance that, you know, they're going to have to, you know, stand up to it, you know, at some point that they're going to get challenged if they're doing something that we don't think is right or that we don't necessarily like. So, you know, there's a lot of, you know, for people that have never played the game or maybe haven't been a fan for a long time, new fans to the game, hockey can do, or fighting in hockey can do a lot of things, like change the momentum in games. Like we don't just do it for fun. You know, I certainly wasn't just out there running around trying to look to fight for no reason. There's always a reason behind it. And some of those reasons are they're taking liberties on some of your smaller guys or some of your skilled guys, or maybe they're just up in the game and you're showing that you're not going to quit, and that, you know, there's going to be a pushback and they better be ready the next game. And it's just a way to hold people accountable on the ice. You know, playing over in Europe, there's not as much fighting as well. And, you know, there's a place for it. You know, I do think it's a good thing that, you know, all the guys now that, you know, fight can also play the game, and nothing against, you know, the old school fourth lines where, you know, when I started playing in the American League, pretty much the entire fourth lines were fighters. And, man, there were some tough customers out there, but, you know, they were only playing maybe 2 minutes. So I kind of like, you know, the way it's going now where you know, everybody can play and everybody can contribute in a lot of ways more than just fighting. But I do believe fighting is important for the game, and it's something that, you know, I've done a lot, but I've always done it for good reason. Some of the actually hilarious story. My buddy Troy Brummett, I don't know if y'all remember Troy. We played together in Sioux City my first year. And I remember we were in, actually the only time I got my nose broken in a fight. Of all the fights I was ever in, we were up in Sioux Falls, and this guy asked Troy to fight, and he goes, "Turnbull will fight you." And I was like, "What?" And by the time I turned around, I believe it was Menzione or something. He had his gloves dropped, and I was like, "All right, well, now I got to go. You know, I'm not gonna stand here and say no." And Rummer, you know, I respected him, older guy. And before I even had my gloves off, I took one in the nose. He broke my nose, and I think it only pissed me off more. And came back in that fight and probably hit him about 20 times after that. And but that's probably the only time I ever fought for not a reason in my career. And but yeah, I think that there's a place for it for sure.
What is your favorite fight story? Is that it? Or what's your favorite fight story, or the time that you bit off more than you can chew?
Well, I did get in a fight with Kevin Westgarth. I was driving the net in Manchester, and I don't know if you guys know Kevin Westgarth, but I believe he's about 6'7". This was in the American League.
And you're not 6'7", Trav. You are not.
I'm almost 6'1".
Yeah.
So, you know, he had some size.
You're giving up quite a bit here.
Oh, and he was a heavyweight.
Yeah.
He fought all the toughest guys in the world. And he grabbed me, pulled me up, you know, from I was kind of on my knees in the crease there because I was driving the net, and one of the D-men cross-checked me from behind in the goalie, and he grabbed me and started spinning me around. And I stood in there and, you know, took a bunch of punches off the back of the head and tried to throw a few. And when they were throwing me in the box, I believe he got 2, 5, and a 10, and they gave me 4 minutes. And I was like, no, Kevin Westgarth, and you're not going to put that on my fight card? Are you kidding me? I could have died in that fight. But there's that.
You needed the public record. You had to have the public record.
Yeah. Well, I'm still telling everybody I fought.
It
There's
counts.
got to be some video evidence out there.
It counts, man.
Yeah.
We'll give it to you. We'll give it to
everybody, just so you know, I fought Kevin Musgarth.
Yeah.
I want to ask, why did you think there's not as much fighting in Europe? Is it the European way, or is it just you're all professionals, or?
No, well, when I went over there, it was 2 and 10 for a fight. They just changed it. Now it's 5, but then they limit the fights. So you would get suspended, after 3 10s over there. So I was I believe I was averaging maybe 1 fight a year over the years over there, if that. But over in Europe, it's different too. There's, usually if you are fighting, you're fighting another North American guy. Occasionally it's just a different culture that we grew up in and played in as opposed, to them and the way our juniors are as opposed to their junior system. But I'll tell you, German hockey's getting better and better all the time, and I've been really impressed with the development over there. If you look at Stützle in Ottawa, he's a player I played against over there, and one of my line mates, Lean Bergman, just played for San Jose Sharks a couple years ago. Also a really good player. They're coming out with better and better players all the time. Moritz Seider, there's lots of them. So,
when you think about your time here in Sioux City, fondly, what are those memories of Sioux City for you? And what was it a special place in your life, in your time?
Yeah, it absolutely is a special place. I still think about Sioux City often. I try to follow the Musketeers as much as I can. Being over in Europe, being 7 hours ahead, it was always tough to be able to have the chance to watch the games. But, I check the box scores. I'm always checking in on you, Muskies, if you're listening. Nice. Us alumni love to support the team, and I'm always rooting for you guys. And actually, Riley, I coached him in spring season and AAA spring for St. Louis Blues, and back in St. Louis a couple summers ago. So it's cool to see him, and I like to follow him. I actually just told him good luck for the season a couple days ago. But yeah, oh my gosh. I could sit here and keep you guys on here all day about, my time in Sioux City and the friends I've made. We mentioned the people that I keep in contact with. I keep in contact with just as many guys from my days in Sioux City than I did from any other team except, maybe Michigan, and it's probably pretty close. We mentioned Dennis and Louie and our Justin Boostrom and Chris Butler and Tim Kennedy. Me, Kennedy, Butler, and Dennis McCauley, we were all in the Buffalo system at the same time. Kennedy's family was amazing to me. Being in Buffalo always let me stay with them. When I went up there to skate before training camp, Timmy had a great career. Butler, as well. These guys played, full time in the NHL. There's just, and if I forgot any of you guys, I apologize. But I love you all. Love those teams and have many fond memories just hanging out. Whether we were at one of the guys' houses in South Sioux, or we were in South Dakota there, or we were hanging just in Sioux City. We were always hanging together, and it's important to all hang together and build that team camaraderie and that culture, and for the guys playing now, and it's make sure you're a good guy and you're good to your teammates, because there's a good chance that you'll play together in the future and you can help each other out. I know Digger Kennedy helped put me on the radar with Buffalo, so thank you, Digger, for that. You create many lifelong friendships, and it's truly been special.
I wanted to, you mentioned you coached Riley Bruick. I don't know if you had a connection as well to another former Musketeer. I think he finished second most games played in franchise history, and Ben Duran, who also, like you, hailed from Chesterfield, Missouri, but also talk about that. I mean, I don't know how many people would think of St. Louis as kind of a hotbed for hockey, but obviously yourself, Riley, Duran, there's a lot of players that have made that path from St. Louis to Sioux City.
Yeah, absolutely. St. Louis, when I was growing up, there was no, I don't believe there was anybody that played in the NHL at the time that grew up in St. Louis. I think Pat LaFontaine had lived there as a young child and then, moved on. But oh my gosh, St. Louis hockey has grown crazy, and they're a powerhouse, as I'm sure you know now. And, we were kind of those first, generations, and, a lot of that attributes to the Blues alumni and their involvement, and guys like Lloyd May and, his involvement. And, it's, I even tried to give back. I mentioned going out there in the spring and coaching these young kids and just trying to talk to them and give them some, different point of views. And it's tough, when you're only there for a couple months in the summer to really be involved. But, I truly take pride in trying to help younger players. I did that especially later on in my career as a veteran and captain for the teams I was playing for to pay it forward. And I'm always rooting for the guys, from St. Louis, especially if they're Musketeers. How cool is that? Bobby Gassoff and my dad were just inducted in the St. Louis Hockey Hall of Fame a couple of weeks ago. And me and Bobby were talking about Sioux City and how he paved the path for me with Sioux City, Michigan. And I remember looking up to Bobby, for what he did. And, stuff like that is really cool to look back on and, have somebody there as a mentor. Because I don't care what you do in this world, you need a mentor for whatever it is. You need somebody in your corner. And for any of you young guys on the Musketeers, don't hesitate to reach out to me for any, feedback or input. I'm happy to help at any time if you want me to look at and watch some of your games or something like that. It's something I really enjoy giving back and especially helping out the Musketeers.
Is coaching in your future then? You mentioned kind of giving back and watching tape and
Not in Alabama.
I love what I do here as a mortgage banker in Alabama, but I would like to be involved in hockey at some capacity for sure. We'll kind of see in the future here what kind of shakes out, with that, even if it's just, something, part-time or helping kids, consulting or something, or I don't know, but, I would like to be involved in the game in some way. I'm still, always actively following all my buddies who are still playing and the teams I've played for and rooting for them. So it's not out of the question, but, what I'm doing here in Alabama as a mortgage banker, I really love it. Long story short, I've been investing in real estate for almost a decade now. And you young guys start thinking about, investing or things about hockey after hockey, because I don't care if you play in the NHL for 20 seasons, there's life after hockey. So find something you're passionate about. Real estate, something I found a passion in, and I developed a relationship with the lender I've been using the last 6 or 7 years. The company I work for does amazing things. We're licensed in 50 states, and they've just done so many great things for me. And so we were talking over the years. He said, come down to Alabama and check it out, and see what you think. If you'd like to come work here after hockey, and came down here last summer and decided it would be a great fit. And so we moved the family down here now, and it's been really enjoyable. But of course, I'm always still following the game, and it's a little weird right now, not being in a locker room, I got to say, now that the seasons are starting and like games are popping up on, my phone and notifications, where usually I'm just checking out my buddies and seeing how they're doing, and getting ready for my games. But it's a great job here. And, we have a locker room type environment in the office here. So I'm very happy.
What's it like for you? How has that transition been for you? Because let's face it, as you mentioned, hockey players, it's what they do from the time they're 4 or 5 to the time that it's done. I mean, you're pretty much all in. That's all you guys have known for that many years. And you were pro for 15 years. So here you are in your 30s, and that's all you've known. And now it's time to go essentially join the real world, if you will, like the business world. But what was that like for you to actually have to, first off, admit to yourself that I'm done with hockey? Because that had to be hard to actually swallow that pill. But then B, move on and figure out a plan of what's next. Take us through that scenario, because that has to be really hard.
Yeah. So, luckily, like I said, I'm passionate about real estate. I've been investing in real estate for, almost a decade now. Actually, a lot of hockey guys, kind of gravitate towards real estate for one reason or another. So, there's a lot of guys that I've been, doing stuff with in the real estate world in the off season. My wife and I have, we've been doing, flips and live-in flips to buy and holds and stuff like that. And, I go to the gym in the mornings in the off season, and then, you have the whole day. So, especially even before we had children, we didn't want to just waste our time in the summers, just, going to the golf course or laying by the pool. We wanted to do something constructive, and we got into real estate. And, I've always known I wanted to be in real estate and hockey in some capacity, or vice versa. So I started thinking about that in around 2017. I had a wake-up call. I was playing for the Cologne Sharks in the DL, and I just had a couple really great seasons. And as a hockey player, that there's the day is going to come when you have to retire, right? That. Talk about, shelf life. However, for some reason, in the back of your mind, you just don't think it's going to be today. And, the reality is you're always an injury away from, your career being finished. And I remember I had a really bad groin injury, and it just wasn't getting better. And I remember thinking, this could be it. What am I going to do? And a guy on my team was investing in real estate. I thought that was really cool. He told me about this podcast and gave me a couple books. And if you guys have ever heard of the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, that book got me started, from Robert Kiyosaki. And I would recommend anybody, if you're looking for a book to read, it's really great on financial literacy. And that got me started. And from every season from then on, we were buying properties in the off season, but then solely focusing on hockey during the season. So, and to not run on here too much about it, this relationship developed with the president and, owner of the mortgage company here. And, we just, decided it would be awesome to work in something that I'm passionate about. And it just is a really good fit. So,
how hard was it, Trav, to officially though pull the plug and admit to yourself that it was over? I mean, talk about that process a little bit.
It's still hard, Trav. It's still hard. Some days I wake up and it's almost like I have to tell myself that I'm not a hockey player anymore some morning. Yeah. It's something, with my dad playing in the National Hockey League for forever, and growing up and wanting to just be like my father. And even in school, everything I did as a kid was drawing pictures of hockey, and every book, I was reading.
Everything you've ever known. It's everything you've ever known.
Everything I've ever known, everything I ever wanted to do. yeah, it's hard. I'll be honest with you. But there's a lot of people out there that, have gone through it that you can reach out to. One of my best friends since growing up, Michael Davies, he played in Lincoln. We've been talking about it for a couple of years. He's been retired for a couple of years. He's like, Trav, it's going to hit you when the season starts. When we initially came down here to Alabama, I was all excited to come down here and live by the beach, brand new house, new job. You're busy. But yeah, of course I miss the game. I think I always will, even though I love what I do, and I truly do love what I do. But when you're a hockey player, it's in your identity, and I don't think it's ever going to go away. But it is what it is. You can't play forever, no matter who you are.
No, it's true.
But you look back and you just got to be grateful for everything that you've been through and the places you've been and the people you meet. And for the guys that are, get to the end of their career, I know it's easy to say because, I had something that I knew I was going to do after retiring, but there's so many hockey guys out there that are willing to help and talk to you or help you find jobs or just be there to talk about it. So, yeah, that's my story with that, man. Some days still I can't believe I'm not a hockey player anymore, but I get up at 5:30. Well, I get up a little bit before 5:30 and I go to the gym every morning because my body's so used to working out. And I think that's a really good thing that I'm taking away from the game. So staying healthy.
Talk to us about your debut in the NHL, getting that call up to the Buffalo Sabres, showing up at the rink. And then also, talk about your rookie lap, your welcome to the NHL moment where you realize like, wow, I'm here. I'm at the show.
Yeah. Dream come true. What else could I say about that? It was something I worked for since I was probably 4 years old, If you read the book, The Outliers, they talk about 10,000 hours. I've put in a heck of a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And even doing so, there's no guarantee you're ever going to make it to the NHL. But I was determined to get there come hell or high water, I'll tell you that. I just started, I remember talking to one of my teammates in Rochester. So I had a really good, I'll backtrack a little bit. So signed with Buffalo out of college, out of Michigan. Went to training camp there. First year sent down, they kind of brought me along the old school way. Our coach was Kevin Deneen. I think he was a great coach as well. Old school, bring the young guys, along slowly, make them earn it. And, they made me earn it. I'll tell you that. Back in the day with Buffalo, they didn't even give you, there was no guaranteed preseason games. I'll tell you that. They didn't give anybody preseason games. They didn't even give you a sticker on your helmet in training camp. Unless you were going to play in a preseason game. So you knew the guys that, were closer to making the team than you if they had a sticker on their helmet or they were playing in preseason games. Fun fact, I played more NHL games than I played preseason games with the Buffalo Sabres.
Wow.
So grateful for Buffalo for giving me the opportunity to play in the National Hockey League and live out my dream. But yeah, I did everything possible to make it. I had a really bad shoulder injury that put me out 60 games. Came back, got sent down right away in training camp to the American Hockey League. They didn't give me a housing letter right away after I'd already played in the American Hockey League for, almost 3 seasons. Had no guarantee I was even going to be on the American League team that year. After this injury, they kind of told me, well, we're not sure where you're going to be yet, which was a big wake-up call for me because I saw myself as a veteran in that club. Well, they ended up keeping me, started me on the 4th line, worked my way up. And by the end of the season, I grinded and fought my way to myself to getting a call up. And I got a call up at a crucial time where they were fighting for a playoff spot. They were only a couple points out of the playoffs, so I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud that I didn't give up and that I did everything that I possibly could to make it because I have absolutely no regrets and I have nothing but gratitude for the Buffalo Sabres and that organization. But there's no feeling like putting that jersey on for the first time. There's a picture, I have it on some social media of scoring my first professional or my first NHL goal.
Who was it against?
Hendrik Lundqvist, no big deal.
Oh, man.
I was about to ask about that goal.
Yeah, don't watch the YouTube video. Let me tell you how I scored. I basically, dangled everybody and scored on a breakaway bar down. Don't Google or YouTube it. No, it was a lucky bounce, but I scored a goal in the National Hockey League, and nobody can take that away from me. And I think the greatest part about all of that is the excitement from my teammates and in the huddle and on the bench. And that's why I love that picture so much. You see guys like Marcus Foligno, who's a really good buddy of mine still. We talk all the time. Derek Roy and, all these guys that had great careers in the National Hockey League who still are just so excited for me. And that's what's so great about hockey, and teammates and building these relationships over the years. And it's great for the business world too. I love working with hockey guys and, just people around the game. It's always fun to chat about the game and do what we're doing here today. It's really fun.
So who's the most famous person in your phone?
Most famous person in my phone. Geez. I don't know.
Is it Taylor Swift? Is it T-Swift?
It is not Taylor Swift. That would be Travis Kelce, I believe. That has her number. I get probably Brett Hall.
That's a pretty famous person.
Yeah, but I've known him since I was, a young guy. But I don't know, man. It's so hard to say because
that's a good one. That's a good one. I mean, the guy's amazing. So you figure out, all right, you're not going to make it in the NHL at that level for very long. Okay, you got your games in, and then how do you get convinced to go play in Germany?
Well,
and make that move.
Well, I actually didn't think that I wasn't going to play there that long. I thought I was going to play there a long time, and there were some people that had the same opinion as I did in the organization as well that told me so. Unfortunately for me, the lockout happened, and I was one of the few unrestricted free agents with Buffalo. They did tell me that they wanted to sign me, and then I needed to wait, and I ended up waiting till I can't remember if it was September or late August. I remember I was on the golf course with Mike McKenna, and my agent Elaine Waugh called me and said, "Hey, I got a couple deals for you. One's in Finland, one's in Dusseldorf, Germany." He's like, "Look up these cities, but with the lockout right now and them sending all these players down, if you look at the names that we sent down to Buffalo, or from Buffalo to Rochester, we sent down NHL superstars back down to the American League that were still on entry level contracts. We had a lot of them, and he kind of said, "Hey, look, don't take too much time in taking one of these deals in the top leagues over in Europe because, guys like Paul Stastny and Blake Wheeler and Jamie Benn, they're all signed in the DEL right now too." So I basically took a chance on a good opportunity over there. Did not think I'd be over there long. Probably went over too early, but I do not regret it. Had a great career over there, and I had no idea what to expect. And if you guys don't know much about European hockey or the DL or the SHL, I played in both those leagues. mainly in the DL. The fans are incredible over there. I mean, in Cologne, I believe we had like 16 or 17,000. Sold out all the time. Dusseldorf's like 13,000, sold out all the time. The cities are amazing. It was really great. We got to see the world, play at a high level. I got to play for Team USA in the Deutschland Cup over there, which was another dream of mine to put on the USA sweater. Ended up getting my German citizenship and learning a new language. So it was a lot of benefits.
Boy.
Yeah.
So would you talk smack in German then?
Yeah, but
Yeah?
usually when I'm mad, it comes out. I wouldn't say I'm perfect at Deutsch, but I can definitely speak and hold a conversation. And I took I think it was like 4 hours. It could have even been longer. In all German, I had to study for that test for months. And no, it's cool to have that dual citizenship as well.
Yeah. Trav, people here in America, like they don't know, like you said, they don't know a ton about those leagues over there, but knowing it and knowing some guys that went over there, it's a pleasure cruise over there for you guys. I mean, you guys go there, talk about the kind of money. I mean, you guys make pretty good money, right? I mean, decent money over there, and almost everything's paid for. Just talk about the perks of going over there and what kind of money you guys make over there.
So playing in, I'll talk about the DEL because that's where I primarily played. It's called the Penny DEL over there in Germany. They don't usually. They supply housing, a car. Some teams even throw in utilities and healthcare. You really don't have very many bills, and you get paid in net contracts in euro, which euros are worth more than the American dollar, at least right now. So it's a really good way to play at a really high level, see the world. Some guys even come back to the National Hockey League. It's some guys ended up playing the Olympics from there. I did not get to play in the Olympics, which was another dream of mine, but it's really, really great level. I think you'd be surprised. I was ignorant to it before I went there. I did not know anything about it. I did not know which league was a good league and what wasn't. But I can tell you this for certain. There's a lot of guys in those top leagues in Europe that could come here and step right into NHL lineups and do really well.
Do they make NHL money as well, or like a little bit step below?
So
it's not the high end, but
yeah. So it's really hard to say because it's all relative to the teams. Mm-hmm. So if you're familiar with soccer in Europe, each team has different sponsors and has different budgets. Some leagues have big TV sponsorships, like Sweden, the SHL that I played in. Each team gets a certain amount of money. From the TV deals that they have going on. In Germany, some of the teams like Munich, who's sponsored by Red Bull, they have more money than other teams. Leagues like Switzerland and the KHL have different money, so it's all relative to the teams. But I would say, you can make a lot of money over there as well. In the KHL, some guys can make more money than the NHL. Switzerland, Germany, Sweden, you can make more money or as much money as the top guys in the AHL, or even more. So it's really hard for me to say, and I can't really say because I wasn't looking at guys' paychecks. But this is all just word of mouth. But for us and my family, we made a good living over there.
Did you ever get to play with any former Musketeers in your expansive professional career?
Yeah. So as I was saying before, I played with Chris Butler, Tim Kennedy, Dennis McCauley in Buffalo system. I played with Justin Boostrom in Dusseldorf in the DL. I played with Jeff Sackhoff in Straubing in the DL. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anybody here. Yeah, I've crossed paths with quite a few Musketeers. Like I said before, Stephen Camphor and I played together at Michigan, which was awesome to be able to play with him for so many years. We had 3 years at Michigan together and one in Sioux City. So almost, consecutively 4 years. There was a gap in between. But yeah, it's always nice to have a Musketeer walk in the locker room you're in.
Is it like a fraternity where if new guy comes into the locker room and he's a Sioux City guy, do you guys immediately kind of gravitate towards each other, or you have that immediate bond opposed to somebody that didn't play in Sioux City?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, geez, even if yeah, especially if we played together, but even if we didn't play together, I would definitely gravitate. We gravitate towards each other. Max Pacioretty and I played together at Michigan too.
Yep.
We still keep in touch. He's a great guy, and that friendship I'm sure developed from him playing in Sioux City as well. At the beginning too. So it's always fun to talk about those days in Sioux City, and Wilson, a St. Louis guy that I would talk to him about. We'd work out together with our trainer Jeff Lavecchio in St. Louis, which a lot of the top players in St. Louis work out with. There's been quite a few Muskies coming there, even guys I haven't played with, and I'm definitely gonna go up to them and at least have a conversation and hope that a friendship develops from that.
Do the rivalries when you go on, you go on to Michigan, you go on the pros and stuff, the guys that you play against, like from Lincoln or from whatever, and all of a sudden they're in the same locker room as you, all-star games, things like that. What is that like when you've had to battle that guy, or you guys, or trades where a guy comes in and you don't like that person? You played long enough. You got to have a good story about something like that of guys getting traded to you that you're like, I do not like that guy, and he's going to be playing with me now.
Yeah, I got to tell you,
happens a lot in hockey, by the way. I mean,
yeah. So there's a big respect factor in hockey, especially if that guy's fought you in an honorary way. I was talking to Ryan Hull. He's good buddies with a friend of mine, Brandon Dorado. Brandon's one of my best friends in the world. He's now the head coach of University of Michigan, excuse me. And, he's buddies with Ryan from back home. And, after Michigan, we crossed paths a little bit and had a couple talks about the old days and some of the fights, that we had against each other. But there's usually respect there. And oddly enough, the people that I usually hate on the other team that are such a pain in the butt, they're usually the guys I end up loving. The guys that are such a pain to play against and are hard to play against are usually great guys, especially the guys that are going to go and stick up for their teammates. I mean, there's a good chance they're going to be a good human being, right? So there's definitely been a lot. That's a really good question. And for people that, have maybe never played the games or are just fans, there's I could see a guy after a game, even if we, go toe to toe in a fight or we fight all the time and just have that respect. And it's kind of cool to talk about that stuff.
Go ahead. I would say one thing. Give us your craziest hockey story. Your craziest hockey story of all time. And you look back and go, gosh, that's a story I got to tell my grandkids.
Oh man. Oh gosh, there's just so many stories. It's hard to this one's popping in my head right now about a fight I had against a guy named Richard Clune. And this video is actually on YouTube. It was probably one of the better fights of my career. Clune is a real tough player, and he asked my roommate Matt Generous to fight a couple games prior. We were playing in the same division. He was in Manchester, and I was playing in Portland with Dennis McCauley, and he knocked my roommate Jenny was trying to take his helmet off to get ready for the fight. He's a big dude, big tall guy, and Clune just sprinted at him and knocked his teeth out. And then he went around the arena giving this one to the stands, and we didn't play him for. I think we played him like a couple nights later back in Portland, and I told Kevin Deneen, who's our coach, I said, do you mind putting me out there to line up against Cluner? I'm going to go him here for, doing that and embarrassing my teammate, my roommate, who's still a good friend of mine, and, went out and asked him to go, and we dropped the gloves and went toe to toe. And I'm almost embarrassed to this day, actually, about it, because I went, in my mind, I was like, I'm going to do what he did.
Yeah.
I was so jacked up to get him back, and it's one of those things, like we also talked about earlier with the fights, like can't let people get away with stuff because you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And I wasn't giving him an inch. And I wanted him to know that, not only is that my buddy and teammate, but, he's going to have to answer for what he did. And yeah, you'll have to check the video out on YouTube. It's fun.
So you bagged him?
Yeah, it was a really good fight. I wouldn't say I bagged him. I would say it was a really, really good fight, to go toe-to-toe with him.
It was good enough for you to get up and celebrate, though. That's the
yeah. Well, and then he started celebrating after the video, and then he had to leave the ice because he was cut or something. And it was just a funny video, a crazy story. But back then in the American League, it was pretty. There was a lot of tough guys there, and it was pretty crazy, with the fights and the stuff you had to do to stick up for yourself to get a little room out there.
Yeah.
That's just one of the million stories that pops into my head thinking about that. But Sioux City stories, going to the finals with those guys, and the brawl against Lincoln and stuff like that. I think about those often. I actually have a CD at my house of a highlight tape of that season. I don't recall who made it for us. It might have been Corey Elkins or somebody. So I don't know. Maybe it was a media guy. Whoever it was, thank you for that video. I'll have to see if I even own a DVD player still. I wrote in for my girls to show them. But I'd definitely like to get back to Sioux City, at some point and go to a game and show my girls where I played and lived for a couple of years. It just was an incredible time, and it's a great city.
Well, real quickly, you mentioned that brawl against Lincoln a couple times now. How well do you remember it? And take us through what happened and where was it at? What happened?
It was in Lincoln in the playoffs, and
of course, it was in Lincoln. It was in Lincoln. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I fought Hull that time, or I might have fought Bull.
Because Bull, for those of you that don't know, Jared Bull went on to the NHL. He had a great NHL career, and he was a resident tough guy in the NHL for a long time. Oh, yeah. He was a tough customer in the NHL. So when you dropped him with him, you better bring your lunch pail.
Yeah, I mean, back in those days, I fought. I think everybody in the league. I don't know if there's somebody I didn't fight. Thinking back now, I remember. Geez, when you're young like that, you just want to make it. I maybe even got too involved in it sometimes. But we just had this team, and I've mentioned Dennis McCauley so many times because we're still so close from those years. And even in the American League, we would stick up for each other. I mean, Dennis is we would just kind of get always have each other's back, and even all the way back in those Sioux City days. So for whatever it was, we wanted to win that year. We thought it was our year, and we came within a couple periods of winning the Clark Cup that year. And even though we didn't win it, still a lot of special memories of that year. And yeah, I mean, that brawl, I just think it gave our team so much confidence. I'm not saying to go out and start a brawl, guys, anything like that. It's all situational. But I remember us all, in the locker room after that. We just knew that we were going to win the series after that. But like I said, I could keep you guys here all day and talk about stories in Sioux City. I remember my first game in the old Odd, my first stall. I was sitting next to Tim Kennedy, and how cool it was to play in a big arena. I remember our first game in the Tyson Event Center, and how cool that was. And geez, what a locker room! Still probably one of the nicer locker rooms I ever played in. And if the guys don't know how lucky they are to have those facilities, I'll let you know right now. I played in a lot of American League cities that did not have that nice of a locker room. So be grateful for your opportunities and for every day in a Muskie jersey. They don't last forever, and give it your all.
And maybe I know the answer to this after talking about that line brawl, but is there a team in the USHL that you just hated? Like every fiber of your being, you're just like, I do not like these guys. Their entire way of life is just wrong. Was there a team in the league that was like that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to look at my fight card, but I would say I probably have more fights against Lincoln than anybody. They were just a tough team. They were just a big, mean, tough team. But, we had a lot of guys, too, that could fight and stand our own. Christian Manella, he was always getting involved. And, Butsy, Chris Baller, he'd jump in sometimes. And, we team toughness. We were really just team tough. I mean, it's tough to not have that crazy rivalry, with, Sioux Falls or Omaha as well, because they're right there.
Yeah.
But that season, we were always going at it with Lincoln because we were both just closer in the standings. Kind of varied year per year. I think, the year before that, Tri-City and Omaha, we were kind of going to more battles with them. So.
I mean, as long as it's the Western Conference, usually the answer is not wrong. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah, yeah. It was fun times for sure.
Well, hey, Trav, we appreciate all you. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us today and relive some memories and tear open some old wounds and some old memories as well, and really let Musketeer Nation out here get reacquainted with you and let us for you to tell us what's going on in your life now and rehash it all. We really appreciate you doing it. And of course, as you know, you're always welcome back here in Sioux City. You'll always be a Musketeer. You'll always have a home here in Sioux City. And once a Musketeer, always a Musketeer, my man. So thanks for stopping by today. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. It was fun to jump here on the show with you guys. I still have a million more stories about Sioux City. So if you ever want me back on, I'd be happy to do so. It was really fun reliving some of those days in a Sioux City jersey. Best of luck to the Muskies this year. I'll be watching. And Sioux City Fan Nation, love y'all. I'll be watching from Alabama. So thanks for all the support over all the years. I've definitely had a lot of Sioux City fans reach out to me. And feel free to reach out to me, for anything. If you want to talk about hockey or mortgage stuff or anything, my DMs are open, and it's been a pleasure, guys.
Absolutely. I looked back at the game logs on Hockey Reference for Travis here. Shot number 1 in the NHL got past Henrik Lundqvist. I don't know how many guys can say
you were 1 for 1. You were your
one
first.
For
wait.
one.
Okay, we got to stop now. So you mean to tell me that your first shot in the NHL was a goal and it was against Henrik Lundqvist?
I didn't even know that. I didn't know it was my first shot.
Stat. Yeah. What a stat!
One fight, one goal.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, 1 fight, 1 goal, 3 games. Not a bad stat line. St. Louis Blues or Buffalo. if you need somebody. No, I'm kidding. No, any of the teams in the NHL. What a fun time it was to be a professional hockey player. Got to thank God, for him allowing me to played professionally for 15 years and play in wonderful cities like Sioux City and Ann Arbor, and go to the University of Michigan too. So thank you guys so much for having me on. And, I'm around if you guys want to have me on again at some point. I'm here, like I said. So
Turnbull too, but your time here was worth that stat right there. I mean, you can tell everybody, yeah, I played in the NHL, scored on my first shot against a guy against Henry Lundqvist. I mean, it's not a big deal though. I don't want to talk about it. Not a big deal. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a great stat.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Sometimes things work out.
That's crackerjack statting right there by Connor Ryan, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you get with Connor. He just
thanks, man. I didn't even know that stat. I thought I had a couple shots before that. I didn't even realize. So
they didn't count, at least.
Yeah, well, they would have gotten them if I did. I know I hit the crossbar in the next game against Minnesota. That would have been nice if that one went in too.
Yeah,
I might still be there right now.
Tough to. I mean, batting 1,000 against Henrik Lundqvist. He might be the only one ever. So that could easily be. Maybe I'll have to go back and look it up.
I did get tagged in a Twitter post a couple of months ago that said I was the only player to play 3 games or less for Buffalo to score a goal. I think that's what it said.
Great.
Don't quote me on it. I'll have to check it on Twitter, but check that out.
Great.
A couple of records in the NHL. No
great trivia. That's great trivia.
Yeah.
Fantastic trivia.
And fun fact, my daughter, Bradley, who's playing softball here, my oldest daughter, she's wearing number 9 like I did in Sioux City. So
there it is.
And she didn't even, she saw that fight. There's a picture of me on Facebook where I'm in a fight against a guy in Tri-City, and my arm's like up in the air, and she saw number 9. She goes, "Dad, I'm going to wear number 9 because I saw that you wore that back in Sioux City." So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, cool story about her. So
well, you bring the family back sometime, and we'll have you drop the puck, and we'll get you reacquainted with everybody here in Sioux City soon.
Oh, that would be amazing. I'm all open for it.
All right, buddy.
All right, thank you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks again to Travis Turnbull for joining us. Again, just a reminder, Musketeers home opener coming up this Friday, 7:05 puck drop, party on the plaza. Tickets available now here at the Tyson Event Center, or give us a call. This has been another fantastic episode of Musketeer Made, presented by Fremont Tire. I'm Connor Ryan.
Travis Morgan.
We'll see everybody at the Tyson Event Center on Friday night. Talk to you later, everybody.